Hello everyone. I want to thank you for being here. I want to congratulate you. You've somehow done something right, that you would find this situation right now. It's before the launch. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if I didn't feel as though this is going to be quite large. And so what I'd like to do is just start with a couple of ideas here that I have always looked at. For those of you that don't know me, I've had some very good experiences in the network marketing industry. I've been in it since 1990, been very successful, made millions and millions of dollars. What I'd like to do is walk you through a criteria that I had way before I looked at ARIIX. Basically, it's a concept that I think that if you've been in business before, I think you can see these things. Number one, will the company go long term? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break each one of these down, but I want to give you the list first. So number one is, will the company go long term? Number two is, will the product sell outside of the network? If that's a little bit confusing, and if you're new, then I'll certainly explain that to you, so just hang in there. Number three is, will I be rewarded well for my efforts? Number four is, will the training produce a successful representative? So I'm going to go right on through here. Number one is, will the company go long term? If you think about it logically, no one can be successful in a failed company. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how great the compensation plan is. It doesn't matter how good the products are or anything else. If the company is not around, you have hurt your reputation. Number one, I need to evaluate the management first, because companies don't build, people build companies. So when you really get in there and you examine the specifics of a company, you have to look at who is moving that company. It's just sort of like if you have a hat sitting on your desk, you reach and you move the hat and move it to another part on the desk. The hat didn't move, if you will, a person moved it. I want you to keep that in mind, because people, not companies, leave tracks. Those tracks in the sand, tracks in wherever they've been to, point to or come from success or failure. And I'm not saying that somebody can't change their tracks. Absolutely they can. I've done it many, many times. I'm just saying that when you're evaluating a company, the risks are certainly high, and you want to make sure that you're finding that company that's got a management team. Fred, Mark, Brent, Riley, just the whole team here is, and I know it's going to sound like a cliche because everybody says this, we are really the only ones that really have it, in my opinion. And what that means is that, to me, the biggest fear that I would have is the management of resources. And so a lot of times the way you'll hear this is that we've got a lot of funding. And I'm not so interested in funding, because all you have to do is look at anybody who's ever won the lottery, and they got a lot of funding. But what do they have of that lottery money later, 5 years later, anything like that? It's gone. And so it is the management of those resources that I am greatly interested in how they do. I have witnessed it. Jeff is on board with us as well as a manager, as an owner, principal. He knows how to make sure that we have resources. But I'll tell you the real trick here, and it's a difficult one, and that is it is the management of inventory. I want you to just think about it. If a company orders $1 million worth of inventory and they only sell half of it, then they only have half of the profits. So it's hard to pay the bills when you're only getting half of the profits. So it's very important that a company somehow can guess how much the leaders are going to sell. How much are they going to move and drive? And so this is not something that you want to step in on a management team's first rodeo. You don't want them guessing. You want these people who have experience, that they know this game, and they sharpen their pencil and they know what's going on. This is not a small issue, okay? The second thing that I'm very interested in is the management of leaders. I can't tell you how many horror stories that I've been around, watched, heard. Some of it just it's literally one of those things to where I grab my chest and say, oh. What that is that a company, it gets going and they have zero sales. They don't have anything sold out there, and they have an idea, and then they bring in a couple of leaders. Some of those leaders catch the vision, and then they start moving mountains the way leaders can do. Suddenly the company gets amnesia because they get $10 million, $20 million in their pocket. they get amnesia and they get acting as though that they did it. Now, they had something to do with it, but most of them don't remember that day they had 0 sales. And so it's the leadership who do that. So a little bit later on, when the greed starts going around in the top of the company, and I'm talking about on the corporate side, they completely forget who built them. And so if they want to increase shareholder value, and that's either a publicly traded company or a private traded company, they make tweaks in the compensation plan, and sometimes those tweaks can cost a leader half of his monthly income or more. So when I first sat down and I was talking with Mark, and I told him that I was just so hesitant because it's as though that it's a different field these days. And he said, I want to show you something. And he pulled out his iPad and he began to go through something called Bill of Rights. I urge you to get a hold of this if you can, because Mark sat there and he told me the same thing that I'm telling you about, that this happens all over this industry. And I heard something the other day that a little bit shocked me, and it was that they sat down with the attorneys and they were going through the policies and procedures. And in the policies and procedures, if you've ever read those things, they are very one-sided. And it looks much more like there's a dictator and you are signing off that you submit to everything. Mark and Fred did differently, as they stepped up and they said, you know what, these things are very one-sided. We're creating partnerships with our representatives, and we want partnerships. And so they told the attorney that they wanted to rewrite what has become a pretty much standard boilerplate template in the network marketing industry. For these reasons and others, I believe the company is going to go long-term. In other words, the management part of it checks off for me. If you knew how many companies that I've sat in the boardrooms of, if you knew how many leaders that I have talked to, then this is not my first time of evaluating a company. I've seen quite a few of them. Let me jump over to the next one, which is products. And by the way, this order, these 4 points, they have to go in this order, and you'll understand why on the logic of it. The second thing is products, and the products have to sell outside the network. And what do I mean by that? If a product, whether it is, it's just not a product that customers want out there, or if it's poorly priced, if it's poorly packaged, there are just so many things that can cause a product not to be valuable outside in the consumer market. You've really limited a company to being a small company if the products can't sell outside the network, and you're going to probably within about a 3-year period of time start hearing the conversation of saturation. Everybody's telling the same story. You've all heard it. We're going from small to big, and blah, 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 blah. What I've always witnessed is that the companies that sell products that stay inside of the network, meaning that only the distributors or representatives or associates are the ones that are really consuming the products, that there's not an outside consumption base, then you've got saturation, not just an objection of it, but actuality. Because you're going to stall your growth right there. So I always look for products that are going to go outside the network, that there's a real, true consumer market for it. One of the things that helps with this is the categories that we're going into. They are large, all right? And so when you think of categories, what I think of, so that you and I are thinking of the same, is that I think about how many people are purchasing those types of products today, and how many people will be purchasing that type of product in the future. And that's going to basically give you your validity, your long-term movement on the product side. Of course, you can go into international markets, have expansions that way, but I'm looking specifically for categories, or what I put on the slide there is product divisions, as well as the multidisciplined approach. And what I mean by that is that we will have different divisions that are very separate categories. For example, I have talked with Mark, Fred. I've told them what I feel as though that it takes to really get it up there. In other words, to knock the ball out of the park, to be the $10 billion size or above. The way that it's got to be done is something that I haven't quite seen, and that is that it's a division and multidiscipline division. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Deanna Latson, who is our product star, she brought me the concept and idea of what she was already working on, about ready to launch. And what it had to do with is that we were not just going to participate in let's say, nutrition industry, but we were also, the nutrition industry is in the health industry, but there's so much more to health than just nutrition. When you look at how that operates, and that is that most of the time what I've seen in this industry is that you'll have vitamin salespeople, so you'll have vitamins for sale. Now, I'm not undermining that because there's certainly a lot of vitamins moving, and we're going to start out that way. But where we're going is why I am super excited. Where we're going is that we're going to have a different discipline than just vitamins. We'll have also a very strong focus on something that's very near and dear to my heart, because we just had a baby about less than 4 weeks ago, and that is something called Healthy Baby Academy. So that's going to be a discipline inside of nutrition. Weight management will be a discipline inside of nutrition. Fitness will be a discipline. And as Deanna likes to say is that you can't be healthy just by taking vitamins. That, you can't be healthy if you have a toxic relationship, or if you have, tooth decay, or you have pets that are unhealthy, and a home that's unhealthy, things like that. And so that's what I mean by multidiscipline. But also the other thing that was very exciting to me is that I talked to Fred and Mark about my vision of possibility of a services side, so that we would have, you could almost view it as a franchise organization that we connect with, and we refer this service to go into the home and help educate them on being healthy. That can go all the way from disinfecting the home to removing of odors out of the car, things like that. But we could also educate them about toxic chemicals that are inside the house that normally lead to problems that people are not even aware of. So these are the categories, as well as the multidisciplined approach, that really, really impressed me. And I believe that this is what will take us to being that giant company.